And we're back. And we're back. Wartime Zoomshteig, Ramah, Reish Mem Aleph, 241. And the whole world is wondering, are we going to hit 250 by Simchas Torah, by the 1-year anniversary of Motzi Simchas Torah? But really, we're just we're learning in the schus of the soldiers and the schus of the captives, the schus of Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Ha'im B'tzaro V'Shivya, Vein Bayam Vein Bayabasha, and Mitzvah Hashem should be zoche to steig this year, zoche to a chasima taiva. All right, so we are in the Mishnah on Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. All right. And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back. Shalom Aleichem. So we got a new Mish. Who this? New Mish. Who this? Yid. We got Yid in Shir today. You know DVJ?
What's up, homie?
Yeah, it's Craig. He's the guitarist in the Super Chill. Geschmack. He's great.
Like budget
Best
or
guitarist in Jerusalem. No, much better than me. He teaches me, and I humbly ask questions and drink in the wisdom. Okay, so Zok the Heliga Mishnah. Beishamai Imrin. Beishamai says, "Ain Nightlin as ha'ali likatsev alav basar." We saw this Mishnah yesterday. Now we're going to go through it today with the Heliga Rashi. Shalom Aleichem Avi Meiri.
Shalom Aleichem.
Great to see you. Great to be steiging. And so we got a new Mish. Who this? Beishamai says that you don't take the Ali likatsev alav basar. So yesterday we saw we saw the Rashi, we saw the Gemara. Today we're going to go through it to the Rashi. It happens to be that we saw this Gemara on Daf Yudam and Aleph. They shelled this Gemara when they were asking all those questions in Muchaves Ashita. Okay. So then now we're going to go into the Gemara in the Mishnah inside. Okay. Note ein notlin eshak. They're talking about Anyantif. Ein notlin esha ali likatsev alav basar. We said it was some sort of plate. Let's see Rashi here. Masnisin to the Mishnah. It says Ali. It says Melachto le'iser lichtosh b'machteshes. So the Ali is a klisha Melachto le'iser. It's a vessel that is used for an iser purpose to smash up lichtosh, to grind b'machteshes, for those smashing grinders. And so therefore, that's why Beis Shammai says Azer, but Beis Hillel says, no, don't worry about it, it's mutter. Beis Shammai Aimrim, ein nosnin as ha'or lifnei ha'dorsan. We don't put the skin or the leather before where it gets spread out. The lo yag bihenu. And you don't lift it up, and we have to see what those cases are. Rashi doesn't mention. Ella im kain yesh imo kazayis basar, unless it has a kazayis basar. This is the amount of basar that would be roy to eat and to cook, which we can cook on Yantif. The Beis Hillel matirin, and Beis Hillel says you can do it. Okay, thoughts on this Mishnah? Is that a cricket I hear? No, okay. Is that a tumbleweed? A cricket on a tumbleweed? Okay, so let's see this Gemara because we saw it above on Daf Yud Amud Aleph. It's not in the Muchlefes Shita things. I got confused. My bad. But we did see it on Yud Amud Aleph. Right? If you're gonna ask the question, right? Remember we said no. If you're gonna ask the question, ask this question. That was one of the things. If you're gonna ask the question that Beis Shammai says that you can't take this ali lekatsevalav. And Rashi over here, he says ali lekatsevalav esa ali. There's a bigger Rashi. So if you guys look in the Gemara, looking in the Gemara and Daf Yud Amud Aleph now, we're going because we quoted this Gemara, and so like Rashi was very, very concise on the Mishnah, and we're like, oh my God, what do we do? Oh, you actually just saw this Gemara. We just have to do a little Chazara. So Rashi says Esha Ali. He says Daf Av Vikaved. It's a strong base. It's a strong plate, thick and heavy. The kochim bochitim the tirgis vitisni. Where Zalman was with us in Shir right now, talking about preparing food. That you smash up the wheat to make, like, I don't know, some sort of oatmeal, tirgis vitisni, some sort of smashed wheat dish that Zalman, when he comes, if for Zocha, can explain to us the food. It says Ayin Machshirin Perek Vav Mishnah Beis. And we do have a Mishnah over there, Machshirin, and also Moed Katan Gimel Beis. Okay. So it's this thing that they would use also to smash wheat on it and also to cut meat on it. And so to cut meat is something that you're not doing. And we're back.
And we're back.
We're talking about taking this big heavy plate that you use to smash the wheat, and it would be muksa. If we're smashing the wheat or the basar? The wheat, no. So usually they use it to smash wheat, right? And so if you're using it to smash wheat, so it's usher. It's usher. So therefore it's muksa. But maybe like I could use it to cut basar. Beis Shammai says don't do it because it's a kli. It's a vessel that's malachto le'isser. It's usually used for an isser purpose, so you can't use it. So you can't touch it on Yantif. But Beis Hillel says no, it's all good. So the Gemara on Daf Yud wanted to prove Alma legabe simchas Yantif Beis Shammai l'chomer, right? Remember they tried to prove that. By simchas Yantif Beis Shammai is going l'chomer and Beis Hillel is l'kula. But what about this tira that Hashon Chayav open about the kisoy hadam? Remember, we're doing that. So what about the Kisoy Adam? In that case, that it sounds like Beis Shammai is Mekel and Beis Hillel is Machmir. And the Gemara answers, oh no, Kisoy Adam is different because Beis Hillel, because it's talking about the Dakar knowledge, right? That the shovel had to be stuck in. Who remembers the shovel being stuck in? Oh, the Rebbe's in Chazal. Chazal. Shlegs, I have a question. I forgot. Why do we learn Gemara?
So we could do Chazah.
So we can do Chazah. Thanks for the Chazah.
My pleasure.
Gewaldic. So we have this vessel that we use for something else. And Beis Hillel says no. Beis Shammai says no. Beis Hillel says no. It's okay. Okay. And then the Mishnah says other stuff that we did, and there's barely a Rashi talking about the meat on the leather to make it be able to be handled on Yantif. And Beis Hillel is like, no, don't worry. Beis Hillel is like, It's all mellow, man. It sounds like, yo, it's chill, bro. Don't get so caught up on the rules, yo. Mishama was like, no, you can't do it. But we have to understand. We have to understand the Shitas. Mishama and Beis Hill, our two favorite houses. You know, Dad, we say on the Siyam, we say on the Siyam, we say, Haim Ratzim le Beis Gryffindor and Beis Slytherin. The Anu Ratzim le Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel.
That's cute.
Okay, Zog the Haley the Gemara. Tana. Stay in Brisa. It was taught. Bishavin and Beishamai and Beis Hillel agree, maybe this would say, She'im Katzav alav basar sha'asar litaltalo. Whoa. They agree that if you do go and use this plate that was used usually for smashing wheat, but it's also good for chopping meat, you know? Yo, what are you planning on doing this? Well, I won't be smashing wheat, so I guess I'll be chopping meat. You know me. When I'm not smashing wheat, I'm chopping meat. So they agree that if you use this to cut your meat on Yantiv, it's usher to carry it, which is the Chayra Pella. Because wait a second, didn't Beis Hillel say Matirin over here? Oh, and we're back. Shalom Aleichem Zigidi Arizalman. We were hoping that you would come because we were learning about a sugya about smashing wheat to make some sort of oatmeal or something, and we were wondering if you had any ideas or insights.
Yeah, oatmeal's not good for you. It spikes your
Oh,
blood
no?
sugar.
Okay. And would you smash wheat? Would you smash like the wheat to make like little crumbs of wheat in order to like cook some sort of grits or something?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Would you smash little wheat kernels, chita,
Yeah.
to cook something?
You certainly could, sure. If you're making a gruel.
Like what?
Yeah.
Like a
To
kugel?
bake, to make flour.
Ah,
You
to
would-
make flour, to bake gewaldic.
You would pulverize it. Yeah.
Rashi says two words, tirgis and tisni. And so we were wondering, okay, fine. So to make some sort of delicacy, to make flour maybe. Excellent. Thank you so much. It's so good to have you. It's so good to see you.
Great.
Okay, so they agree that it's us to carry the meat that you cut on one of these boards that you smash the wheat on, right? You have to listen. I'm saying meat and wheat. Oh, I'll talk like that. I'll talk proper. So you have this wheat board, and you cut meat on it, even though Beis Shammai says it's usher to take the board, touch the board in the first place, and Beis Hillel says it's mutter to touch the board, but they agree that if you cut meat on it, it's usher to carry the meat. The meat itself is muksa. I didn't see that coming. Amar Abaye, says Abaye, machlokas be'ali. The machlokas is in this thick board that you would smash the wheat on. Aval betavra garmi divrei hakol mutter. And we're like, I would like 3 chicken wings with the fried rice. I haven't heard that from the kids. All right, so aval tavra garmi divrei hakol mutter. So whatever this tavra garmi is, everyone says it's mutter in that case. Says the Gemara Pshita, obviously, Ali Tanan, for after all, it taught in the Mishnah the word Ali. So it's not such a big chiddush to say that, yeah, Ali is what the Gemara is usher, It's like, by the way, that board is usher. That's what the Mishnah says. And some guy in the crowd is like, oh, but this other thing is mutter. Like, yeah, like it says in the Mishnah that this thing is usher. So like, what's your point? Fairish Mishnah. Baruch Atan Machalam, Bari Pari, Ha-Eitz. Dad, I'm eating a fig. Sheva meaning
Wine
DDJ.
fig, a sack of figs.
A sack of wine and a fig. That's a good one. Listen, Sheva meaning.
I like figs.
Oh. Ate enach antafageha. Vagifanim nasnus madar. All right. Anyways, what would you have thought that to make this actually like a good question? What would you have thought? Who I did afilu davar garmi? I would think that. Oh yeah, no. The Mishnah says the Isser is take this big plateau, this big what's the word I'm looking for? What's that thing that you cut, cutting board? What's that board that you cut on? Oh yeah, cutting board. So it's like this big, it's really a smashing board that they would smash to make little wheat things. I might have thought also over garmi. Ali, and the reason they only use the board as in the Mishnah, to teach you the strength of Beis Hillel, that Beis Hillel is so machmir, or so makel, that he even says that the board is mutter, but really also the tavra garmi, which is, I guess, another type of thing that you can like cut on. That even something which is malachtul izer, he also permitted kamash malan that he didn't, and that it's usher, and that only Beis Hillel was only matir the tavra garmi. All right, that was a tough one. Okay, I say we see Rashi. The Gemara is going to say another mahalach, but I want to see Rashi because we don't even know what it's talking about with that word tavra garmi yet. And so let's see Rashi with the Gemara. So we see talking about. So the Gemara says like this: they agree, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, that if you do cut meat on this board, it's usher to carry. Says Rashi, usher l'taltalo, the is avid le tzorich yantif. That you did a tzorich yantif on it because you'd used it something that you weren't supposed to. Shalom Aleichem, just in time to hear the exciting conclusion of what is Tavra Garmi. Says Abaye, Machlokas Ba'ali. The Machlokas is with that big plate. Aval B'Tavra Garmi, Divrei Hakol Mutter. Everyone says it's Mutter. What is this Tavra Garmi? I mean, Yuchedes L'Katsev Alav Basar. But if you're cutting the meat on a board that is like made for cutting meat, literally a cutting board, ladies and gentlemen, then everyone says it's mutter. So the Gemara says, obviously, pshita, of course it's mutter. it says in the Mishnah, Ali Tanan, Mountaimer, what would you have thought? Who adin dafilu tavra garmi nami, that no, it's also usher to use a cutting board for meat, to cut meat on it for yantiv. V'haida Gitani Ali, and the reason that they use the example of Ali, of the board for smashing wheat, L'hodiecha kochan the Beis Hillel, to teach you the strength of Beis Hillel, to teach you the strength of Beis Hillel. Before we get to the Beis Hillel, Ma'odem, what would you have thought? That also Tavranami, that the Gemara says, of course, Tavranami is also Azer. Zok the Gemara, Ma'odetema, Dafilu Tavranami, that even this cutting board for the meat is Azer. Asiri is also Aser. Dafilu Tavragarmi Asiri. Beis Shammai says is Aser. Now, Rivka and Craig, and those of us that have the Gemara in front of us, not, and everyone has it, everything at the right time. It's just I have an important Nikud, everyone who's watching this video in the future, sitting with the Gemara. This Rashi is called a green light Rashi. Sometimes Rashi talks, and when he has the period after like the Rashi, he says the Dibur HaMaschil, and then he goes and he explains. Sometimes it's a continuous sentence with the opening words of the Rashi, the Dibur HaMaschil, and the first words of the Perush. It's called a green light Rashi and a red light Rashi. I don't know how I picked up this very yeshivish thing, but I did somehow, Baruch Hashem. So you read it like this: Mao Detema, what would I have thought? Who adin de afilu tavragarmi asiri Beis Shammai. That even the tavragarmi Beis Shammai says is usher. It's a green light Rashi. You read through the period. Dilma basar batar, and afterwards, not like basar, we're talking about meat with a sin. Dilma batar basar, afterwards, detaltula, maybe after he takes he takes this cutting board for meat. Mimlach velo tavar, he will change his heart, change his mind, and he won't do the tavra garmi, he won't do the cutting of the meat. Ve'ashkechach detarach bichdi, and we see that he was toreach at the tircha bichdi for no reason. Now, Rivka and Zalman might recognize that word bichdi from Shir this morning. Our Shir yesterday, we were talking about the concept of yesh bichdi, right? And so here also we talk about itarach bichdi for no reason on Yantif, and that you can't do it on Yantif for no reason. So we might have thought that also that's usher to carry this specific plate cutting board for meat, right? We have a specific cutting board for meat. The Mishnah says, don't take this thing which is not supposed to be used for meat and use it for meat. Says some guy in the Gemara, oh, I have a great idea, but you can use something that you are supposed to use for meat. The Gemara says, obviously, the Mishnah says you're not supposed. The Mishnah says supposed to use something that you're not supposed to use for meat to cut meat. The Gemara says, oh, I thought that also that the thing that you were supposed to use for meat. And Rashi explains that because maybe I would have thought that the guys would be like, I don't want to do it anymore. And then it's like, oh well, he carried it for no reason, so they're gonna make gezerah. And like the chiddush is that like we don't make such a crazy gezerah. Okay, that's a pretty good conclusion to a sugya, is that like no, we don't not making such a crazy gezerah. Okay, Kamash Milan, then no, we don't say that it's also Asr. Ika Amri, but you could say it another way. You could say this, all of this Lamdis, which we could say it another way. Ika Amri, Amar Abai says Abai, Lo Nitzracha Ella Afilu Tavra Garmi Chariti. He says, no, we don't need this Mishnah to teach us. We don't need this limud of Abaye. We don't, or maybe we don't need the Mishnah, lo nitzracha. The Mishnah doesn't have to innovate to us, Ella, except afilu tavra chariti, tavra garmi chariti, a new cutting board. Maudetema, what might you have thought? Mimlach, maybe you would thought that the guy is not going to velo tavar Allah, and he didn't use it. It's a weird word. I got to be honest with you guys. Velo tavar Allah. I mean, we see that it means like lo shavar Allah, but what shavar Allah? They didn't break on it. We're talking about cutting meat. So I got to be completely honest that like that word is looking a little tricky. Hopefully we'll see it. But Kamash Milan, that no, we're not worried that he's not that like, oh, maybe he'll pick it up and then not use it. And then like, oh, he did work that he didn't need a yantiv and it was muksa and blah, blah, blah. We don't go down such a crazy rabbit hole of like halachic fear over here. I don't know that. Let's see Rashi, Mitzvah Hashem. So Ika da Amre is the second one. Amar Abai says Abai, Ki os vine pshita. So when they asked the question, da, just to remind us what they asked the question, da, about was, oh, the machlokas, right, is when they're having the machlokas about the board for smashing wheat. But the board for cutting meat, everyone says is mutter. So then the Gemara says pshita, obviously. And so Abai, pshita. So they're asking this question on Abai because Abai said something that was like ostensibly like duh, like obvious, right? So because it says alei tanan. So Abai says, what might I have thought? Also that one. There's another way to say it, Ika da Amre, and that's what the Abai says. When we ask the pshita alei tanan, it says the cutting board. It says the smashing board is usher, cutting board is mutter. Right? Alei tanan shani Abai guvei hachi. Abai himself said this. Lo nitzricha ha. We don't need this. The amina that I said, aval tavra garmi, but a cutting board, divrei hakol mutter. Everyone says permissible. Ella letavra garmi chariti. No, what's the question? Everyone knows that. Everyone knows, right, that the cutting board is mutter. What we're talking about, what Abaye, now Abaye was right, Abaye was like, to come up with like explanation because everyone's like, no, duh. So on the first one, he went one way and he explained it one way, and the second way he's going to explain this question of obviously, he's like, no, I wasn't talking about any old cutting board over here. I was talking about a new cutting board. Shelo katav aleh me'olam, that a yid never cut meat on. The eagle mechash, the chayes aleh v'mimlach. Because in this case, you could have to worry about it that, maybe he's not going to use it. What, I'm going to waste a perfectly good board and I'm going to get it all meat. I get all these meat juices on it. I should use one of the old boards for the meat cutting, and I save this. I could put it on top of my hole, for example. So that's why Abaya had to point out that seemingly very obvious Nakuda. Okay. What's that from? Okay. It's from I think you should leave. Guess I'll amazing. Guess I'll take it. Amazing. Okay. Okay. So now that we got that cleared up, now that Abaye's question has been sufficiently dealt with, and it was beautiful. We love Abaye. Love. But now let's go weiter. Bebeis Shammai lo chaishi le'amluche. And Beis Shammai is not worried that if he has this new board, he might go back and decide not to use it. V'hatanya, but doesn't it say in a brisa? Beis Shammai Aimrim, Beis Shammai says, Ein molichin tavach v'sachin eitzel behema below behema eitzel tavach v'sachin. Beis Hillel says molichin zay so zay. You can carry this one till that one. Beis Shammai says in molichin tavlin. Oh, tavlin, spices. Barasi Yetzer Hara. Barasi Torah tavlin. DVJ, you know that Gemara? It's a Gemara in Kedushin, Daf Lamed Amud Beis. I created the Yetzer Hara and I created Torah as, so the mainstream yeshivish explanation is that I created Torah as like the remedy for it. Okay, but I heard a different shot. The tavlin also means spices. Like, we're not about turning the Yetzer Hara off, abnegating taiva. The Yetzer Hara, we have the Yetzer Hara, we have like the taiva, and the Yetzer Hara and the Torah turns it into a spice. The Torah turns the Yetzer Hara into something that we can use for our mitzvahs. We could bring it to the base medrash. Barasi Yetzer Hara, I created the Yetzer Hara, and I created Torah as the spice.
Shkoyach.
Shkoyach. It's an interesting concept. And obviously the Yetzer Hara is the shibud on the inside. It's the Satan. Yetzer Hara, Satan, Malachim Aves, same guy, same messenger. Okay. So Beis Hillel says, Beis Shammai says you can't carry the spices and the spice smasher to the other smasher. This was a smasher in, I think. Below Meducha Eitzel Tavlin, and you can't bring the smasher next to the spices, and the spices to the smasher. Umaduch, right? I think the case is that it was in a base, and it was and you would smash it, but the smasher, the spice was in the base, but the smasher was somewhere else. You can't bring it over. And Beis Hillel says you can bring it over. So the Gemara says, wait a second, is this a contradiction? Because in that case, it seems like Beis Shammai is worried that maybe you will go back on your intention. And it because he's saying that you can't bring this aid, so that the thing that you can't carry this to that, because maybe on the way that you're carrying it, you'll decide not to bring it. So we see that Beis Shammai is worried, is chayish for amluche. So the Gemara says, wait a second, Hachi Ashta, really, is that a good comparison? Bishlema, I understand, behema, the animal, case asi le'amluche, the amar nishavek hai behema kechusha U'maisina behema achrisi deshemina mina. Maybe he's gonna change his mind when, in the case of the animal, because he's gonna be like, yo, I don't want to take this thin animal. Whoops. I want to take a fatter animal. Kadera nami, also if he has some food or some dish. Asil amluchai, he'll go back on it to Amar Nishavek Hai Kadera Debaya Tavlin. We will leave this dish that it needs spices. Umaisina Achrisi, and I'll bring a different one. Delobaya Tavlin, it doesn't need spices. So in such a case, maybe this is like a real reason why he might like actually go back on it. Hacha mai, here what what could you say? Mimlach velo tavar. Kevan deshachta l'tevira kaima. Here we could say that maybe he won't cut on it because he shechted, maybe he already used one, and there's that word tevira again. And Amir Hashem, Rashi will help us out over here. Lo chaishi le'amluchei. Lo chaishi le'amluchei, they're asking? Okay, let's see this back. Rashi with the Gemara. At what point are we going for? We said the Ika de Amri Amar Abaye. You can't carry it. That's where we're at. We're at that question. We're at the Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai, what? He's not worried about le'amluche. B'timeya uparich le'abaye. So we're saying, wait a second, Abaye. Still trying. You think we're gonna let Abaye off the hook that easy? Doesn't look like it, right? So they're saying, wait a second, Abaye. Your question that you had to tell us, right? When we learned this mission, the base benches, you're like, yo, the machlokas is with the smashing board. If you cut, are you allowed to use that to carry that to cut on it? Base Shammai says, don't do it. Base Hillel says is mutter. And he says, yeah, but a regular cutting board you can use. And we're like, duh. And so he's trying to weasel his way out of it. And this is another question we asked on him. What? You're telling me that Beis Shammai over here says it's mutter to use on the cutting board, is mutter to use the cutting board? That means that Beis Shammai is not worried that you're going to go back and second guess it and not use it, and you're going to be carrying nothing. You're going to be carrying a yantif for no reason. All of a sudden, it seems like Abaye's question is not so. Abaye's point is not so pointless. All of a sudden, Abaye is saying a big chiddush that Beis Shammai is saying that you're allowed to you're allowed to even carry the regular cutting board. It's not a klisha melachto le'iser. All of a sudden, Abaye is like saying something. Now they're asking questions on it. Wait a second, but we say Beis Shammai doesn't hold like that. And so they're piling on the questions. They're feeling threatened maybe from Abaye. And so they're saying like this. Ein molichin tevach v'sakin. So we don't carry the knife to the animal and not the animal to the knife. Bisel's like, you could do it. What does Rashi say? If the knife and the animal were far from each other, Dilma Buzzer Didarach Mimlach, because maybe after he did this thing on Yantif, that the rabbi said you could do this thing on Yantif if you're going to go do Ochel Nefesh. But this guy, maybe he won't do it. That's the stira in Beis Shammai. That's the question on Abaye. Or the madoch is the buchna shedochin bo tavlin b'meducha. It's the thing that you smash the tavlin, the spices in meducha. So we're ending shir right now. We got 5 minutes left, and we're going into Yom Kippur talking about tavlin, talking about spices. We should be zocheh everyone to eat. Everything we eat today, Erev Yom Kippur, is a mitzvah. So we should be zocheh to eat. Don't forget to eat. So so they asked this question of Abaye. Wait a second, but we see that Beis Shammai is worried that the guy's going to change his mind. Hachi Hasha. Well, Abaye is not. Abaye is not going down so fast. Abaye is about fighting. Abaye, after all, he's not just some guy. And so he says, I understand why Beis Shammai would say that we would be worried about Amluche in the case of the animal, because maybe he's like, yo, I don't want to take this skinny animal. I want to take a fatter animal. Maybe he'll change his mind. That's why we don't carry for the animal. In the animal case, really, maybe he'll change his mind. I want a fatter animal. And the same thing with the dish of food, right? He'd be like, yo, I don't want this dish of food, right? He's gonna be carrying this dish of food. Actually, you know what? What? I'm gonna carry these spices all the way to the next house. I might as well just forget about it and just eat the food that already is spiced. What am I going to carry on the spice? So he's going to be mimlach. He's going to change his mind in the case of the meal, because he's going to bring the one that doesn't need spices. So, but here, what are you going to say? So by saying this case, I really needed to tell you this chiddush that is different. Let's see. The Shovek HaKadera mean tavshil. It's like some type of food. Ze she'et sarich tavlin kigon basar v'betzalim. Some meat and onions. Zalman. We should always be zochet to cook what we learn about from the food. Cook a meal from the food that we learn about in Gemara. We have to think what we can make: meat, onions, and ground flour.
And make it into what?
I don't know. Just you're the master chef. I'm a mere apprentice.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we could also make kruv.
Sounds like kibbe.
Carobs. We can also make carobs and other types of root vegetables. There's a lot of different food that we could possibly make that we learned about. We should be zochet to cook Amir Shemalat this coming year.
Amen.
So Maisi Achrisi Velo Bayatavin. So what would you have thought? That maybe he would be Mimlach Velo Tavar, Kevin Deshachta Litivira Kayama. Okay. Let's see the Rabbeinu Hananel. I know. Perish ha'ali is buchta shekotesh bo adisa. You smash up the oatmeal. It really does say oatmeal here. V'hapua, v'kiyotze ba, v'asisa, maybe for medicine. V'hu meleches achol. You do it on chol. Ve'eno omed lichtosh bo mine meichel. But it's not. You don't usually use it. This ali that we said was aser. We don't usually use it to cut to cut for edible foods, only for like smashing up the oatmeal. Whatever they said, ki alihu davar shemalachto le'eser. This ali is called davar shemalachto le'eser. Ba'aval bichen bezilo matirin l'taltel ulikatse v'lavazer v'lishaver atzamos. What we're talking about, tavra, Dad. We were wondering, what is this tavra? We were wondering this word. We weren't sure what it was. I was thinking we have to look at Jasho. But he's like, let's look at Rabbeinu Hananel. And Rabbeinu Chananel explains it means to break. It talks about breaking bones. Right? Back in the day, what? A Yid had so much food, a Yid would break a bone, eat with the inside. So Beis Hillel allows you to do that on Yantif. V'chein tavra garma, tavra lishbor garma, a bone. Oh, okay. V'chein tavra garma. So it could be, by the way, that I didn't learn the Gemara correctly after tavra garma. He says you can't cut on this board, but you can break a bone. We're listening, Rabbeinu Chananel to the rescue, Erev Yantif. Erev Yom Kippur. V'chein tavra garma. He says, shehi chatika shel Korah shehiskina l'shaver aleha atzamo. So it's the meat cutting board, but it's special for breaking bones. V'hi adayin chadasha. If it's new, it's muteres. V'kos again yeshena, and of course if it's an old one, v'chein leholich tavlin. To carry spices, etzel meducha to a spice smasher, the meducha etzel tavlin, and a spice smasher etzel the spices, elu kulan. All of these cases, Beis Hillel says is mutter. And then just one, actually, it's a stickle more. It says lagbia or shel behema. So remember in the Mishnah it talked about don't take the skin of the animal before like where you step on it, and don't pick it up. So just a slight word on that. Lagbia or shel behema sheshachta biyom tov v'leshotcho v'ledorso b'nei adam v'beis Hillel matirin. So that you spread out to pick it up and to step on it, put it in a place where people stepping on it, Beis Hillel, so you can do it. B'shavin Beis Shammai v'Beis Hillel Shemolchin al gabe haor basar tzli. That's already next sugya. So we did the Rabbeinu Chananel. When it said tavra garmi, it talks about breaking a bone, and so we said it's mutter to break a bone on the bone on the special to eat it, to eat like the marrow. And Kevan deschita letevira deshachta. Since so you might have thought to say he's going to go back and he's not going to break the bone, right? That's what you might have thought to say. And the Gemara, no, because since he already did the shchita, he's not gonna leave the bones unjuiced. Oh, Gemara Chasim Mataiva. Just in time, a good kavitel. Clouds by Shalom Aleichem, Gemara Chasim Mataiva. We're learning about smashing the bones on Yantif to eat it. We might have thought, don't let him cut the meat even on this special cutting board for cutting meat and for smashing the bones. Because why? Maybe he's not going to cut them. Maybe he's going to be like, nah, actually forget about it. Kamash Malan comes Abaye and teaches us. People were, by the way, giving Abaye mad, they're giving him mad, like, they were giving him the business, they're giving Abaye the business, and they're asking questions. Oh, it comes out that Abaye, it's a good thing that he told us that you're allowed to use the cutting board to break the bone. I might have thought from this other Mishnah that Beis Shammai is afraid that, oh, maybe I'm going to decide not to do it, and so I'll aser even the act of carrying a knife to the animal, carrying a spice smasher to the spices that I need to smash. No, those cases I could say are different, because those cases maybe I'll find food that doesn't need spice and end up not using it. I'll find an animal that's more plump, and I'll end up not cutting this one. And so there, Beis Shammai is worried. But here, no, here he's not worried that that you might not bring the cutting board to break the bones, because if you're already shechting an animal on Yantif, you're going to eat that whole animal. we should be zocha to have a year where we really take even the marrow from the bones from the year. We use it. We're like Avraham Zaken Baba Yamim, and we really are, we use all of the year. We're zocha to learn so much Torah this year to be kuvei itim. We should be zocha to do chesed in this coming year. We should be zocha to hava shalom ben adam lechavero. We should be zocha to kibbut avaim. And we should be zeichet to Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. Kamar Chasim Taiva, everyone. Shkoyach Gadol, and we'll see you Yom Rishon. One good thing about having Yom Kippur on Shabbos is that we don't miss any days of shir. Shkoyach, the Eibishter give us yad d'shmaya. Much love to the ganze Welt. Am Yisrael.